So how did play continue? Well, white chooses to bring his queen to the d3 square. This move doesn't seem to do a great deal, but at least it's defending the knight on c3. And now black simply plays c5. So he's just supporting that the bishop on d4. And notice that since white's play with the pawns has been somewhat careless, there's no way for him to directly challenge this bishop. So we normally associate outposts with the knight on the 5th and 6th ranks, but here we've got a strong bishop outpost. So white looks to other avenues to try to get some kind of attack going. He brings his queen to g3, but black just plays another calm, measured move, developing a piece and reinforcing his center with bishop e6. And black has a decent advantage now. Certainly the gambited pawn has come to nothing here, because black actually has ended up with the strongest center. So now we see bishop g5 and queen d7. It's interesting to note that we've reached the 18th move now and black still hasn't castled, which is a little bit unusual. Now we had rook to c1 from white, and then black plays a very nice move, and that's f6. So it looks a little strange at first, almost like black would lose a pawn, but what's going on is Lasker is able to leverage this bishop as a defensive unit. So after e takes and g takes, the pawn is defended by the bishop, and the white's dark squared bishop is forced to move. So we see that now. F takes, g takes, and now bishop f4, just exerting some pressure on this c7 square. Well, rather than defend the pawn, black finds a nice way to develop some counter-attacking chances. And if you just take stock of this position now, you'll notice how harmoniously black's pieces are deployed. If black is able to castle queenside, he'll have an almost ideal position. His two bishops are coordinating very nicely, and he's got this beautiful pressure coming down the g-file. So things are starting to look bad, quite bad for white, and it's not clear how he's going to be able to continue and find a plan from this point onwards. So for now he plays queen to f3, and black finally castles. So now the two rooks are connected. The king is relatively safe on c8 behind this shield of pawns, and black really has all the play at this stage. His pawns are a little bit scattered and disjointed, but it doesn't seem to matter, and that's something that is quite characteristic of master play. You know, in all of the books we read on chess, we read the principles about, you know, not doubling up pawns or creating isolated pawns, but often you'll hear that the overriding factor is the positional considerations. So even though we're told not to do these things, it often doesn't really matter if it can't be exploited. So we have now rook e1, and then just c4, just gaining a little bit more space on the queen side. And now white tries queen e2, and the idea of this move is that he's hoping to swing the queen over to the queen side and maybe get some counter play going, either from the b2 or a2 squares in conjunction with one of these rooks. But we'll see that it's a little bit too little, too late. So now we see just a simple move by black here, and that's bishop f5. So it again shows the patient nature of Lasker's play. He's just improving the piece by moving it to a more active square, and also, you know, he's preparing that perhaps he could bring one of the major pieces onto the e-file later. And now we see a blunder by white. He brings his queen to the a2 square, desperate to create some counterplay on the queen side. However, this is a major blunder, and I think this would be an interesting point in the game just to pause and see if you can find the nice tactical stroke that Lasker used to finish off the game in style. Okay, the move that Lasker found in this position was the devastating rook takes g2 check, and this brings the game to a hasty end. If white were to take on g2, the following sequence would occur. First we would have bishop h3 check, when there aren't many choices. Let's say we comes to g1, then we just simply have queen g4 check, bishop comes here, queen comes to f3, and nothing can prevent mate. And let's say that the king instead went to f3, that's just mate in one, queen g4 mate. So the rook is immune. So what else can white try? Well, in the game he tried king h1, and now after simply rook takes f2, white is threatening to win just another piece, because after rook e2, for example, black could continue with just rook takes f4, and later the bishop is going to swing to e4, and it's absolutely lost. So a very nice finish by black, and it was an interesting clash of styles. Not one of Chigorin's better games, but nevertheless an interesting demonstration of how to just patiently defend and start to improve your position one move at a time, and a nice win by Lasker on this particular occasion. Well, that concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time on YouTube. Thank you.